Praxis 5911. 5 key macroeconomics terms you must know preparation quiz. Question 1. A firm can hire labor at a wage of $20 per hour and rent capital at a rental rate of $30 per hour. The marginal product of labor is 40 units per hour, and the marginal product of capital is 45 units per hour. To minimize the cost of producing its current output level, the firm should, is it? Option A. Hire more labor and less capital because the marginal product per dollar is higher for labor. B. Hire more capital and less labor because the marginal product per dollar is higher for capital. C. Continue with the current combination because the marginal products are proportional to input prices. Or D. Increase both labor and capital to increase output, since both marginal products are positive. The correct answer is A. This question tests the cost minimization condition for a firm. To minimize costs for a given output level, a firm should hire inputs such that the marginal product per dollar spent is equal across all inputs. MPL/W equals MPK/R. Calculate MPL/W equals 40/$20 equals 2 units per dollar.
MPK R4530 de maig units per dollar.
Since labor provides more output per dollar, 2 greater than 1.5, the firm is not minimizing cost. It should hire more labor and less capital. As it hires more labor, MPL will decrease due to diminishing returns, and as it hires less capital, MPK will increase, until equality is achieved. Option A correctly recommends hiring more labor and less capital. Option B suggests the opposite direction. Option C is incorrect because the ratios are not equal. Option D is about output level, not cost minimization for given output. Cost minimization requires equalizing marginal products per dollar. Remember, we can take your Praxis 5911 exam for you remotely and undetected with 150 score guaranteed. Message us via the number in the bio. Question 2. A country's economy is experiencing high inflation, currently at 8% annually, and the central bank wants to reduce it to a target of 2%. The economy is also near full employment. Which of the following monetary policy actions would be most appropriate for the central bank to take to achieve this goal? And what would be the likely short-term effect on unemployment? Is it? Option A. Decrease the reserve requirement, which will increase the money supply, lower interest rates, stimulate investment and reduce inflation. Unemployment will decrease in the short run. B. Increase the discount rate, which will decrease the money supply, raise interest rates, reduce investment and consumption and reduce inflation. Unemployment will likely increase in the short run. C. Purchase government securities on the open market, which will increase the money supply, lower interest rates, stimulate aggregate demand, and reduce inflation. Unemployment will decrease. Or D. Lower the federal funds rate target, which will encourage banks to lend more, increasing the money supply and aggregate demand, thereby reducing inflation. Unemployment will be unaffected. The correct answer is B. This question addresses contractionary monetary policy to combat inflation. When inflation is above target and the economy is near full employment, the appropriate policy is contractionary, reducing the money supply to increase interest rates, which reduces investment and consumption spending, lowering aggregate demand and thus inflationary pressure. However, this typically comes with a short-term cost of higher unemployment as economic activity slows. Option A describes expansionary policy. Decreasing reserve requirement increases money supply, which would worsen inflation. Option B correctly describes contractionary policy. Increasing the discount rate makes it more expensive for banks to borrow from the central bank, reducing the money supply, raising interest rates and reducing aggregate demand, which should lower inflation but increase unemployment in the short run. Option C describes expansionary open market operations. Option D describes lowering the federal funds rate target, which is expansionary. The Phillips curve trade-off suggests that reducing inflation through contractionary policy typically involves temporarily higher unemployment. This is the classic policy dilemma faced by central banks. Question 3. Suppose the unemployment rate is 6%, the natural rate of unemployment is 4%, and actual GDP is $2 trillion. Using Oken's law, which states that for every 1% that the unemployment rate exceeds the natural rate, GDP is about 2% below potential GDP. What is the approximate potential GDP? Is it? Option A. $1.96 trillion. B. $2.04 trillion. C. $2.08 trillion. Or D. $2.12 trillion. The correct answer is B. This question applies Oken's law. The unemployment gap equals actual unemployment. Natural rate equals 6% to 4% equals 2%. According to Oken's law, GDP is about 2%. A2 equals 4% below potential GDP. So actual GDP equals potential GDP A. 1 to 0.04 equals 0.96 A, potential GDP. Therefore, potential GDP equals actual GDP /0.96 equals $2 trillion /0.96 equals $2.0833 trillion, approximately $2.08 trillion. Option C gives $2.08 trillion. Option A is $2 trillion as 0.98 equals $1.96 trillion, if 2% gap. Option B is $2 trillion a 1.02 equals $2.04 trillion, if 2% above. Option D is $2.12 trillion. The correct calculation accounts for the 2% unemployment gap times 2 equals 4% output gap. So potential is about 4% higher than actual, hence $2.08 trillion. Question 4. A profit-maximizing monopolist faces a linear downward-sloping demand curve and has constant marginal cost. Which of the following statements about the monopolist's price and output compared to a perfectly competitive market with the same cost structure is true? Is it? Option A. The monopolist will produce less output and charge a higher price than the competitive market, creating a deadweight loss. B. The monopolist will produce the same output but charge a higher price, transferring consumer surplus to producer surplus without inefficiency. C. The monopolist will produce more output and charge a lower price, benefiting consumers but reducing producer surplus. Or D. The monopolist will produce less output but charge the same price, with the difference made up by advertising. The correct answer is A. This question compares monopoly to perfect competition. A monopolist maximizes profit where MR equals MC, while a competitive market produces where P equals MC, since P equals MR for price takers. Because MR is below price for a monopolist, due to downward-sloping demand, the monopolist's profit-maximizing quantity is lower than the competitive quantity, and the price is higher. This results in a deadweight loss because some mutually beneficial transactions, where consumer willingness to pay exceeds MC, do not occur. Option A correctly states this. Option B is incorrect because output is not the same. Monopoly restricts output. Option C describes the opposite of monopoly behavior. Option D is incorrect. Price is higher, not the same. The deadweight loss from monopoly is a key welfare implication of market power. Question 5. A government wants to reduce pollution from a factory. Which of the following policies would create an incentive for the factory to reduce pollution to the socially efficient level? Is it? Option A. Setting a strict limit on pollution that is below the current level. B. Imposing a tax per unit of pollution, equal to the marginal external cost at the efficient output level. C. Paying the factory to reduce pollution voluntarily. Or D. Allowing the factory to continue polluting but requiring public disclosure of pollution levels. The correct answer is B. This question addresses policies to correct negative externalities. The socially efficient level of pollution is where the marginal social cost of pollution equals the marginal benefit of the activity causing pollution. A Pigouvian tax set equal to the marginal external cost at the efficient level internalizes the externality, giving the polluter an incentive to reduce pollution to the point where the marginal abatement cost equals the tax. Option A, a strict limit, command and control, can achieve the efficient level but does not provide ongoing incentive to find cheaper abatement methods. It's less flexible than a tax. Option B, a tax equal to marginal external cost, is the Pigouvian solution that creates continuous incentive. Option C, subsidies can also work but may have different incentive effects. Option D, disclosure relies on public pressure, which may not be sufficient. The question asks for creating an incentive, and a tax directly prices the externality. Option B is the most direct economic incentive approach. How many did you score out of 5? Let us know in the comments below. Also, tell us which exam we should cover next. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more.